Hello and welcome to Beyond the Donation. I am your host, Matt Bitsagai, and I am excited today to be joined by Chris Barlow of Beeline. Beeline is a marketing agency focused on the nonprofit space. Chris brings a wealth of knowledge around all things nonprofit marketing. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Matt. It's great to be with you and Donor Doc today.
Yeah, why don't you, if you don't mind, just take a couple minutes here and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and what you guys do at Beeline.
Yeah, so I started Beeline back in 2015 and just focused on digital marketing and didn't have a specific focus around what niche I wanted to work with. But I always kind of, when I was a kid, had no interest in being like in the corporate world. When a teenager, I kind of dreamed I would do something impactful in the world. And one of my first clients, actually, they weren't, I wouldn't even call them a client. I found a local nonprofit and I said, can I help you guys out with your marketing? Just can I help run your Google ad grant just to get some experience under my belt? And they're like, sure, that'd be great. That'd be really helpful. And so I did that for about a year and got a few other clients in that first year, but they ended up referring me to some other nonprofits that they knew. And then at some point they were like, hey, Chris, we've got some budget. We'd like to pay you for what you're doing and expand it. And so then I kind of found myself just kind of falling into the nonprofit world and coming full circle again back to where I kind of dreamed that I might be. I didn't imagine working with nonprofits as a teenager, but it did feel like, okay, this is kind of a fulfillment of a dream of being able to do something impactful and use my skills in that way. So I'm very thankful to be in this space. And so, yeah, like I said, we started in 2015. I've been working with nonprofits kind of focused exclusively since about 2018.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome when you can kind of align your skill set with something that's really meaningful and allows you to make a living. I think that's a pretty good combination. Absolutely.
Totally.
So yeah, awesome. So one of the things that, we brought you on today to really talk about is ad grants and Google ad grants specifically, because I think there's a lot of nonprofits out there who probably could really take advantage of those tools, but don't necessarily even know they exist. And, or if they do know they exist, they don't really know how to take advantage of it. And so maybe we can just start and kind of level set with like, tell us what Google ad grants is in like simple terms that are, that we can all kind of understand.
Yeah. So we all are probably familiar with the fact that when we go and do a search on Google, the top results are often an ad. They look fairly similar to the regular organic results on the page, but they'll show ad on the left side. And a lot of the time, most of the time, those ads are companies and people who are paying to have their ad show up at the top of the results. And it's triggered by the keyword that you searched. So that there's, and some other signals that Google takes into account to make sure that the result that you're getting, even for an ad, is relevant to you. And the advertiser is not paying until that person, you, click on that ad. And so the Google Ad Grant Program has been around since, I should know this off the top of my head, but it's been like 2007, 2008, somewhere in there, in that range, 2009. And it provides free search ads for nonprofits. And there are some exceptions of organizations that can't get it. If you're a university or a school in education, basically, if you're using the ad for that purpose, you can't. If you have a nonprofit arm of your school and it has functions other than just directly funding education, then you can. If you're in a hospital or medical institution, you're not also eligible. Otherwise, every 501c3 is eligible. It's one of the easiest grant applications out there, and you get $10,000 worth of clicks per month. And you can't use it up per month. You can't use it up. You can use up what you have for per month, like in the month, but you'll get the next month is fresh. Anything, it's use or lose. So anything that you didn't use is just gone for that month. You get a fresh month. And, what you can expect. The results all over the place. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I'll just say it just depends on the cost and how competitive your market is and how competitive your keywords are. The more people who are bidding on those same keywords, the more expensive the clicks are, the less clicks you're going to get for that 10,000.
So essentially, when I go to Google, I search, I see those ones that, like you said, they look like organic search, but they're paid ads. Nonprofits can basically bid on different keywords using these ad grants, so that if somebody, let's just say somebody searches food pantry in their city or state or whatever that is, that you could kind of show up higher up in that list using those ad grants by paying for that versus just hoping your website performs well enough to get you to the top of that listing.
That's exactly right. Yep. And
Okay.
and instead of having to pay real money, you're getting those grant ads. Now, if you're competing, and when I say competing, if you have another advertiser who wants the same keywords and they're paying real money, your grant either will not show up or it will show up below anything paid. So
Okay.
the paid, even if they're bidding a lot less money, like they're willing to pay $1 per click and you're willing to pay $4 or whatever, with the grant, you're still like, you are not paying real money. So Google is going to prioritize the real money.
So it would seem like that one of the things a nonprofit really needs to think about when they're looking at ad grants are like, what are those keywords that make sense? But not only that, like, what are keywords that for-profit entities maybe aren't searching for, or aren't willing to pay for, that would benefit your nonprofit? Is that accurate, or am I misunderstanding that?
That's exactly correct. But actually, your more likely competitor is not going to be for profits. It's going to be other nonprofits with large
Okay.
marketing budgets.
I see. So they have dollars that they're willing to spend outside of what the grant, and they're spending the real dollars. Okay, that makes a lot of
Yep.
sense. So I think that there's two things that I think we see. One is that nonprofits don't even know this exists. So this is great to just get that out there, that this is there, this exists, this is easy to get. And in most cases, a nonprofit's eligible. The other thing we see is that they know it exists, but they don't really know how to like make the most out of it or how to use it. So like what are some of the main challenges you see nonprofits are facing when they're trying to manage and optimize that? So they know about it, they've gotten the grant, now they're trying to figure out, how do we manage it, how do we use it? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges you see in that process?
Yeah. Well, Google ads, search ads are it's very complex. It's a very mature ad platform. I wouldn't say it's not user friendly in terms of that it's confusing, but that it's just very in depth. The rabbit hole keeps going. And so just because the money is free, a lot of nonprofits think, well, we can just set this up and do it ourselves. But the problem is, like, what you're risking there obviously isn't money, but it's time. You're going to waste your time. Unless you take a little, like, there are some free courses you can take. You need to familiarize yourself if you're going to try to DIY. Google does have volunteer programs where you can get a student who has familiarity with Google Ads. They're learning it in their school, in their college class, and they will help you out and get things set up for you if you need to do the budget route. That's totally legitimate to get things set up for you. They won't be perfectly optimized, but you'll have something. That's one route, is just thinking we can just set it up ourselves. The other issue is just, okay, you can get some basic setup done, but there are two other elements. You need to be able to know how to set up conversion tracking, which involves doing not coding, but installing code on your site. And if that scares you, then you probably need to, because you don't have to necessarily do that, but you're not going to get any kind of meaningful results, because Google wants you, especially with the grant. With paid, they don't really care. If you're going to just keep paying them real money, they're happy. But with the grant, Google cares about, I mean, they always care about this, even with paid, relevancy. And the signal for relevancy for them is, of course, if someone clicks on your ad, that means the more people who click on your ad, the more relevant your result was. That's a good user experience. And that means people will keep using Google. And so Google wants your ads to give people a good user experience. But the other signal they use is, does someone take another action when they hit your website? And that's a conversion, whether they fill in a form or click on a button or sign up for an event or whatever that action is. You need to define that conversion action and set that tracking in there. And that signals to Google, okay, not only was your ad relevant, but your website was relevant to them. And they want that because that means you're doing a good job advertising as a nonprofit. They're like giving you their real estate, their prime real estate, digital real estate, and sending users to you. You better be giving those users something good back. So that's another piece. And then the final thing is where nonprofits are trying to just target the obvious keywords that every nonprofit wants, like donate to nonprofit or Giving Tuesday or something along those lines, even like a generic term like child sponsorship. There are lots of nonprofits who want those keywords. Most of them do. They're all bidding for it, and the big ones have budgets, and your grant just isn't going to make traction in those areas.
So it sounds like most things, there's a lot of strategy that really goes into making the most out of this. So like, you've touched on a few of the challenges. Like, what are ways that you've seen nonprofits get around those challenges or like deal with those and be able to really get the most out of these ad grants? Like, what kind of advice would you give?
Yeah. So you have to think a little differently and consider. So the terms that are usually not competitive are things that are related to information seeking. So if I'm seeking information about X, Y, or Z, most likely a paying advertiser, if I'm just wanting to know like the steps to this or solving this problem or I have a question, a paying advertiser is not likely to want to pay for those keywords. They want to pay for keywords that are more likely to lead to a sale or a customer or a donor. And so let's say you're a food bank and you want to find people who will support your mission. Instead of trying to target people who are searching for food bank or food pantry, because you don't even know if those people, maybe those people are actually looking for food. Like you don't actually know what they're looking for. And maybe that's a good term for you to target just in case you want to help people, and you might as well target. It doesn't cost you anything. And maybe you can, in your ads, you make it clear, hey, we've got food. Here's our programs. Here, get some stuff for your own home or your, wherever you live. If you're homeless or whatever the situation is. But if you're wanting to target donors, then you have to think about, okay, why would our donors go to Google? Well, why does anyone go to Google? Well, they go to search and answer a question, to solve a problem, or to get entertained. So where is an area where you can answer a question or solve a problem? Now, that's different for every nonprofit. But maybe, like if you're a food pantry, you could think about, all right, we know how to feed people really well on a budget. Maybe we create a guide for like organizations or families on how to like feed people, how to feed your family for a week on a budget, or how to create the ideal like a college recipe book. Like here's like equip your kids. They're going off to college. Give them these recipes like super easy, filling, and cheap, and yummy. And so when my kid's going off to college, or I'm wanting to feed, and I go and search Google, your ad shows up, and your ad has this free download for them. So what the Google grant is really good at doing is helping you not only get people to come to your website, but get people to sign up for your email list and subscribe. And so if you're offering people something that they're looking for and that gives them a reason to subscribe, now they're suddenly on your email list, and you can start building a relationship with them and doing that donor nurturing and helping them see why you created this guide, because it's related to your mission. Like, yeah, you're not helping them get food, like physical food, but you're helping them in the same area, and it's tied to your overall mission.
I absolutely love that. I think a lot of, well, I don't think it's just nonprofits. I think a lot of for-profits and nonprofits struggle with that idea of trying to figure out what is that content that they can create or that they can put out there that helps solve a problem. And I know, like us as a for-profit business at DonorDoc, our goal is to help nonprofits and, simplify their technology. And so we try to put out content that provides value and that you give that away for free, because at the end of the day, we want them to know who we are. And it's really the same for a nonprofit. And I think I love what you're saying. Like being creative and in coming at that, not with the idea of let's put out something on a keyword of I want them to donate to my nonprofit, but instead helping, put out content that helps solve problems it's brilliant. I love that thought process. And frankly, I don't think enough of our nonprofit customers probably think in those terms. You know what I mean? You're really focused on that core mission, which is great. But trying to take things that are related to that and provide content that helps get people to your website is really good. When we first started talking before we started recording, I know you mentioned that at Beeline you have some things that you do to really try and help these nonprofits grow more traffic to their website. Could you kind of talk a little? Is that the kind of thing you were talking about? Helping them define and build content, or like give us a little idea of what that is.
Yeah, so we'll often get approached by organizations and nonprofit will say, "Hey, we want your help with the grant. We're ready to get this going," and so our first conversations will be, okay, well, what are we going to send people to? What's your goal? And a lot of them do have a realistic expectation, like, well, we don't know if we can get donations from it. Some of them think that, but I help try to educate, like, well, we can get there, but we can't usually aim straight for the donation. So, we come around the idea, okay, we can grow your email list. So how do we do that? And some organizations I talk to already have some things in place. They already have some content they can use, and others don't really have anything. And so then we start talking about and brainstorming ideas. And we'll start with like, okay, again, like I was saying before, like what could we create that would help your target audience in some way? Because our goal is for you to build a bridge to them. They are going to Google and they have the demand already. There's proven demand. So if you can just meet that need and come and meet them halfway, then they're going to be much more likely to subscribe to and follow you and be helped by you, and then appreciate who you are or be open to getting to know who you are. So we'll do that. And sometimes that process, like they can hire us to do that whole thing for them, create everything that's needed, put it all together. Or, if they're more on a budget, like it might just be like us kind of doing some basic ideation with them. Like here's some ideas to help you. Because our goal is really saying, like, we don't want to just like jump into this, start managing your Google grant and hope it works. Like our goal is we want this to be a long-term success for you, because once you find something that works, it will keep working. It will be very consistent. New people will find it. New people are doing searches every month. New people will download it. You'll get new people every single month on your email list. And so sometimes that process can take weeks. We've had a client, it took several months. It kind of was on them. Like they hadn't engaged us we were just giving them some ideas, and they already had some stuff in place, and they just needed to kind of get it all put together. So sometimes that's what the process looks like. And then once we have that put together, and that I'll mention too, that like that process might involve, like, we'll do some basic keyword research and say, well, how many people are searching for these topics? Let's validate that this is worth offering and putting together, because we know there's enough search volume. And the second thing we'll do sometimes is we'll have them send a survey to their current donors and say, we're thinking about creating one of these 3 resources. Which one would be most helpful to you? And get that qualitative, like, voice of the customer or donor supporter. Like, this is what they think would help them. And we know their search volume on all 3 of these topics. Let's go with the one where your donors are saying would be helpful. Yep. And then you can create something if you're creating it from scratch. So that's kind of the process that we need to go through, whether you're doing it yourself or engaging someone else. And you do that before you ever even get to the point where you're running ads.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think I love too the focus on trying to actually figure out what a goal is, at the beginning, so you know what you're trying to hit. And I think sometimes it's really easy to say, oh, I've got this $10,000 a month to spend. Let's just throw darts at things and see what sticks. And I think, but coming at it from, okay, we have specific goals and we're trying to work towards those is a lot more powerful, really, with that. So seems like the digital marketing landscape is just constantly changing, constantly evolving. How do you see the ad grant program? How has it evolved over the years since you've been involved with it? And like, where do you see it going in the future? Is this something you think Google will keep around, change? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is a big time of transition. But once upon a time, this is before my time, George Weiner of Whole Whale, they're a big agency. He's a great guy. He's been doing it for a long time, and he remembers the days when they had no limit on the Google grant. It was spend whatever you could per month. And then they had a special invitation for certain advertisers at some point that you could spend up to $40,000 a month. Now it's down to $10,000. It's been that way for a long time now. It's been at least probably 10 years that they've just been very consistently there. But in terms of transition, Well, we have a new player who entered the grant market, and that's Microsoft with Bing. They entered it last fall, but the program was only open for a very short time. They want to reopen it, but the reason they closed it, and I haven't read this is just my speculation, is because back in January or so when they closed it, maybe it was December last year, were starting to integrate ChatGPT into Bing and have an AI powered search. And so they knew that their grant program was kind of, they were still new, it was in the beta, and they were not able to really onboard a lot of people with so many changes happening in their potential search engine changes. And same thing with Google, we're going to see more and more chat AI enabled search. And what that's going to mean for everyone, not just advertisers, is it's kind of up in the air. But a lot of the time, I think what we're going to see is the search AI giving a response, an answer to people, bullet points, without them ever having to leave the search engine. And we've already been seeing that for years with Google, where you have those questions that you can open and you can drop down, get your answer right there. It'll give you more questions that you can drop down, and you really never have to leave Google if you don't want to. Yep. That's only going to be more and more the case. And how that will affect advertisers, paying advertisers, it's not going to affect, because at the end of the day, that's where Google makes their money. They're going to have the ads at the top of the search page. But the grant, the thing that the grant relies on is the fact that there is unused ad inventory. That's all the keywords that no paying advertiser really wants to pay for. So why not give those away for free? It helps Google, give back. It gives them have a great program. And it also helps just every single search that ever happens always has an ad.
Yep.
But if you have AI answering those information related searches and taking care of some of the area where the grant was, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say what's going to happen. It could potentially go away entirely. It may not, though. I mean, it really depends on what Google's getting from it, because we just don't know how search is going to change.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, as we wrap up here, Chris, could you share with me, if you think back through the customers that you've worked with, and do you have any success stories that you're especially proud of with one of your customers that you want to share with us and kind of tell how these things have helped transform their organization?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have, since you brought up Food Pantry, we have an organization that they are a food bank. They've been around for a long time. And they had an older donor base. Great donor base, but they was definitely getting older, and they said, we need to start reaching younger people. We need to reach, families, parents in their 40s and just like not even young, but just younger. And so we created a recipe book, and we reached out to celebrity chefs and said, we found recipes on their website. And the organization is Jewish. So we reached out specifically to Jewish celebrity chefs. And we asked them, we found some recipes on these specific influencers and celebrities' websites. And would you donate these recipes to our book? We're not selling it. Here's how we're using it. Would you just donate these? And overwhelmingly, we got yes, because the ask was so simple for them. You can use the recipes already published on our website. You're not trying to sell it. And we said we'd give them credit in the book too. We have a little page on the book and a link to their Instagram accounts and stuff. So we put together this recipe book. It's over 100 pages, digital download book, over 30 recipes for all the major Jewish holidays. And so anytime someone's searching for those holidays, searching for those celebrities' names, searching for specific recipes, we can show up, we can offer this downloadable book. Yeah, some people don't want it because they just want the recipe right then and there. But our offer, but not only do we have the authority or authenticity that we get from having these proven recipes, these curated recipes, but we also have this offer of, hey, wait, we're not hitting you with ads on the website and you're having to scroll through this website with stories and you just want the recipe and you're tired of all the pop-ups. This book's been optimized for mobile phones where you can click a link. It'll take you to the section you're looking for. The way it's edited and formatted is perfect for following it. It's based on some really well-known, it doesn't copy, but it's inspired by some well-known recipe apps. So it's okay, here's our offer for people. So they were able to grow their email list by, I think about 100 people in the first 30 to 50 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kept growing. I think 800 people by the first 3 months. And we had raised at the end of the year from the new people $10,000 in new donations.
That's great.
And then this past fall, we just continued doing like some email stuff and continued to grow that. So,
well, that's awesome. What a creative idea too. I think it's just a really good example of what you touched on earlier, which is like there's ways to create content that can help your nonprofit that you maybe aren't thinking about. And I think it sounds like that's a really good example of that. So I appreciate you coming on to the show and sharing your knowledge on the Google Ad Grants and just marketing in general. Tell our listeners how they can find out more about, your organization, and if they're interested in learning more about the ad grants. I know you have some downloadable resources yourself and things like that. Tell us where they can find that.
Yeah, so go to our website, yourbeeline.com. So like your Beeline, make a Beeline, yourbeeline.com. Right on our homepage, you'll see a book called How to Use Digital Marketing to Find New Donors. And it will guide you through the process of that ideation, the brainstorming, to figure out what you should create. It'll give you ideas on like what format it should be, like considering your different options. What should you create? Should you create an email series, a quiz, an ebook, whatever, makes sense for you. And then how to put that together, how to create a page on your site to offer that to people, and just how to go from someone searching online, they find your book, they subscribe, and then they become a donor. How do we get them through that whole process? So that book will guide you through all that. You're also welcome to email us, team@yourbeeline.com, and I'm happy to answer any questions or send you some guidance. Or we also have a document on our site on how to apply. But I will tell you, actually, Matt, this is a new thing. Google just changed the grant application process.
Okay.
They now use a company called Powered by Percent. Percent is their name. That's what you have to validate your 501c3 status with first.
Okay.
And then you can apply for Google for Nonprofits. That just changed. There's like no news about it anywhere. So if you're hearing it here first, it's new for a lot of people.
Okay.
So
Sounds
you need
good.
to go there, apply that, and then you can get the grant through the Google for Nonprofits program.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like there's some great resources out there. And again, just appreciate your knowledge, appreciate your expertise, and sharing that with our listeners. We hope to have you back on at some point. I'm sure there's lots of other great topics we could talk about. So thanks for joining me today. Thank you to all of our listeners for joining us on this episode, and we look forward to talking with you next time.